The automobile. A surprisingly simple machine at first glance that is surprisingly complex underneath. An invention that expedited transport of people and goods across the land. An invention so revolutionary, it changed the way the world operated forever. Alright, enough fancy talk. The automobile, or car if you're not a sophisticated British person, is a large, usually four-wheeled, but not always, machine capable of transporting people and goods. And today, we are going to delve into the history of the automobile, and hopefully in a reasonable time. Alright, so it's the very early 1800s, and this dude, Nicholas Joseph Cugnot, is making the De Livas engine, one of the world's first internal combustion engines. Now, inventors were experimenting with designs for a long time afterwards, making 2- and 4-cycle combustion engines, and beginning to use gasoline. But the at the time almost mystical idea of a carriage that pulled itself wouldn't be truly feasible until in 1883, when the owners and an employee at a bike shop, Max Rose, Wilhelm Essliner, and Carl Benz, like that Benz, founded Benz and Company Rheinische Gasmotorenfabrik. And after a lot of experimenting, Carl Benz created the Benz patent motorwagen in 1885. And two other German automobile pioneers, Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach, would soon go on to found Daimler Motorengesellschaft in 1890. Now we head across the pond to the good old U.S., where Ransom E. Olds founds Olds Motor Vehicle Company in 1897. And despite what you might think, it was actually Olds who invented the assembly line and was able to make the Oldsmobile Curve Dash the first mass-produced automobile in 1901. Now, Olds didn't make the first car in America, although he was joined by Buick in 1899 and Dodge in 1900 as one of the earliest American car companies. It was done in 1893 by Charles and Frank Durya, but yeah, there's a reason you don't remember them. Oh, and speaking of 1901, well, actually, we need to rewind the clock a bit, but in 1899, the Detroit Automobile Company was founded, and one of their mechanics, Henry Ford, after attracting investor attention, including Detroit's then mayor, in 1901, Detroit Automobile Company was reorganized into the Henry Ford Company, which, as you might have been able to guess by this image, Ford would leave the company soon after, and in 1901, it became Cadillac Automobile Company. And in 1903, Ford created Ford Motor Company. And in 1908, Ford Motor Company released the Ford Model T. Oh, we in business now, baby. And in fact, Ford was in so much business, his old Tin Lizzie here sold, in its total run from 1908 to 1927, 15 million models, becoming the world's most sold car for the next 45 years. Alright, we got ahead of ourselves there for a second. We're in the very late 1800s and early 1900s. This is by far the longest section of this kind of sort of documentary thing. So let's jump across the pond once again, as all the way back in Italy in 1899, Giovanni Agnelli founded Fabbrica Italia Automobile Torino, otherwise known as Fiat. Oh, and Giovanni was a member of the Italian Fascist Party. Fun. So, moving the clock back forward a bit, in 1904, two dudes who really like cars and planes, Charles Rolls and Henry Royce, would found Rolls-Royce Limited. Alright, so it's the 1910s, and everything's going great. There's peace in most places, Africa is no longer Africa's, and the automobile industry is booming. Alfa Romeo was founded in 1910, and a year later came Chevrolet along with GMC. Oh, I see something's going on in Sarajevo. Let's check it out. Oh no. Alright, well, Austro-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand just got assassinated, and Austria-Hungary says Serbia had a part in it, which they probably did. So Austria-Hungary sends an impossible list of demands to Serbia to meet, or they declare war, which they obviously refuse, so Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. But Russia is a friend of Serbia, so they declare war on Austria-Hungary. But Germany is a friend of Austria-Hungary, so they declare war on Russia. But France and Britain are friends with Russia, so France declares war on Germany, and Britain just doesn't care yet. World War I just started. Alright, so all of Europe is descending into gun-toting, trench-digging, shell-shocking lunacy, while America looks on in horror. So how are the cars doing? Well, with the outbreak of World War I, most automotive companies shifted manufacturing severely into the war effort, and many Model Ts were used especially. In fact, they shifted so hard, someone decided to cover their armor and put a gun on it. Really, humanity? Cars have only existed for 29 years, and you're already using them to commit murder? Look, I'm just gonna let you be for a while. Don't turn cars into killing machines while I leave you to your own devices. Oh, come on! It hasn't even been a year, and you made a car with treads that has 6 machine guns. 6! How many machine guns do you need? I'm sorry, it fires what now? Alright, look. I'm just gonna fast track our clock here. We don't need to see any more of this. Alright, there. World War I is over. The Central Power is lost, Austria-Hungary doesn't exist anymore, Russia's communist, and Germany's in massive debt, which it will definitely totally be able to pay, because there won't be a massive economic depression that shuts down the world for a bit. Oh, and so Trojan was founded.